Do a dance?
Yes.
Yes, that's cool. Boss, I really like to dance. Which dance would you like to see me perform?
Gangnam.
Gangnam.
Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style.
That was my little friend. His name is Now. He's a customer service executive. What does he do? Japan has this aging population where there are people over 65 and people with disabilities that cannot help themselves. He's basically their customer service agent. What does he do? He gets the medicines on time. He reminds them about when it's time to go to bed. He does a lot of stuff for them. So when we talk about customer service or customer experience, this guy kind of redefines it. People who can barely talk are actually talking to this guy, and a lot of the stuff is actually remembered by him. He sets the pace of their life. He keeps them alive. So that's customer service for you. But in our corporate world and the way we define our customer, we talk to these screens the most often. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we spend a lot of time in front of TVs. That's probably the first screen. I'm talking about a world average. We spend a lot of time talking to a second screen, which is our computer, and then the guy who's battling for our time is that little piece of real estate called your mobile phone in your pocket. And the fourth screen is your car. Khalifa talked about safe driving and how can we ensure that people are actually not killing themselves on the road. I believe these are the kind of screens that we're interacting with on a regular basis. And we actually would like to switch seamlessly from one device to another, because really, who drives that customer experience is not we as a telco, or it's not we as a bank, or it's not we as a government. The customer chooses his channel. But what are we actually used to doing? Banks tell us how I'm supposed to give you money. If you want to give me money, you write a check. If you want to give me money or you want to pay for a service, you got to pull out a piece of plastic, swipe it, and then you get what you want. So it's enterprise that's defining how we interact with the enterprise to buy or use a service. Obviously, this is going to change. The customer is going to ask you, and he's going to drive the way he's been treated. If you don't treat him the way he wants to be treated, he'll probably just go to the next place where he can be treated the way he wants to be treated. So the customer really is the centerpiece of this whole discussion around the customer service and the customer experience. I'll come back to these screens, but these screens are also being challenged by additional devices, and soon everybody would be wearing a screen. So that doesn't have a keyboard, or if you try to use a keyboard on that watch, well, congratulations. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a whole bunch of screens that we're going to be interacting with. Now, a coffee machine, your photocopier, your car, your washing machine, all of this can be activated from pretty much anywhere you want to. And this is where we're headed. Your refrigerator is probably going to be asked, I'm headed home tonight, so you probably want to keep my red wine at 16. Oh, what's the temperature you like it at 7. So you choose that long distance. So when we talk about the customer experience, it could be defining how your gadget actually interacts with you. So what we're talking about here really is the man-machine experience is changing, and it's changing really fast. Before you know it, we're all going to be talking to machines. Who defines experience? We talked about the customer, and some of our partners are actually redefining it from a point of view of the technology that they throw at you. 2007 was probably around the first time that we saw an Apple iPhone device, and that's very pervasive. About 91% of the American population actually talk to their phones, and they use Siri as that means. In the beginning, adoption rates were as low as 21%, but now it's at about 91%. Does it understand you? The better it understands you and the more it reacts to you, the more you start getting sticky to that device. So who's really defining some of these experiences? If you use Samsung TVs, if you use Panasonic or a Ford, even a low-end Focus, or any of the cars, we as Nuance actually power a lot of these discussions. It's not just voice, it's gesture. It could be a lot to do with touch, feel, and every other form of input.
Cancel golf today.
It's calendar.
Good, because it's date night.
breakfast.
Any room DVR?
Start in one room, finish in another.
Voice control?
SpongeBob.
Advanced DVR, smart search, fastest in-home Wi-Fi, all part of your entertainment. I want to watch a drama, like Battlestar Galactica.
Hey, honey, where the are you going?
It started, I was playing baseball with my son, I guess.
You get the message. That's disruption for you. Not very long ago, that was the phone. Today, it fits into your pocket, and you can do a lot more stuff than just talking on it. So what is the phone? Brett King is actually a guy who wrote a book called Bank 3.0, and if he were to have his way, we wouldn't be walking into a branch of a bank. The way he defines it is a bank is not some place where you go to, it's something you do. So does a branch really need to exist? Probably not, but we still go to a branch. Fact of the matter is about 98% of our transactions with the bank today are actually driven by some kind of a digital experience and not necessarily in a branch. So what is it that we want to actually drive towards when we're talking about basically what we want to get done with the enterprise? What we want is that what we get. So what we'd like to do is drive to a state where we're somewhere in between, where you're almost there. You probably don't have to go to 15 screens before you get what you want, but we'll get you somewhere in between. Where we are today is fairly passive. It's people responding or reacting. It requires input. It's disjointed. The future is an advisor. It's proactive, and it basically goes through a context-based dialogue with you. It's seamless. You can switch from a phone to your IVR to your web experience, all as part of one customer dialogue that you're having. How do you do that? Essentially, how do we talk to our enterprises today? We navigate. We go onto your website, we look, search, and then we get to where we want to go, but that can take us some time. What we want to do is authenticate ourselves. Once we want to do a transaction, they would really want to know who you are. Is it really the person who's trying to activate this card or make this transaction? So what do we use? We use an authentication method. In this case, we'd probably want you to use your voice because your voice is as good as any other password. We want answers. We want straight questions. We want straight answers. We don't want to be thrown about 50 blue screens and then we go search for the answer. That's not really an answer. And we want to transact. Today, transactions are not exactly the way we want it to be, but it's getting there. The value of transactions and the volume of transactions is going up. What we're really looking for is a seamless, natural conversation that actually gives you precise answers, and that's what we're headed to. So the first point is, how do we navigate to understand what is it that we want? I'm getting on a plane, and before I step out of that plane, I have a quick question, and trying that with your current call center model. All I want to know is, I'm traveling next week, and I was wondering if my phone will work. A question as simple as that, if you call up a contact center, you might be pushed through a whole bunch of menus, and probably plane could take off before you get the answer. What you want is really a straight question, and you want a straight answer. How do we navigate? You use your natural language to avoid all of these cues and just get to where you're asking to.
Call steering solutions from Nuance provide accurate, cost-effective call routing for your contact center. Callers describe their needs in their own words and are sent directly to their destination.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if you can you tell me what checks have cleared?
Okay, cleared checks.
What we use here is what we call the natural language understanding engine. What is natural language understanding engine? Most searches that you do typically are keyword-based. If you do a Google search, let me give you an example. You're packing your bags, you're going to the UK, and your wife says, hey, listen, have you packed your umbrella? You say, oh, I don't want to carry an umbrella or a raincoat. I don't have that much space. So what you might end up doing is go on to Google and check weather.com maybe. That's one way you would do it. But let's try it slightly differently. You go on to Siri and ask your phone, do I not need to carry an umbrella when I'm in London tomorrow? What's going to be the answer? It's 14 degrees and raining. You might as well carry your umbrella. If you were to ask the same question on a Google search site, do I need to carry an umbrella when I'm in London? Check the answers out. 50% discount on umbrellas. That's really not what you wanted. So what are we asking for? when you ask your friend or when you ask a colleague or your family, do I need an umbrella? The human being understands the intent of that question. When I say, do I need to carry an umbrella? Of course, it's raining, you probably need to carry one. So what are we saying here? We understand, or we try and figure out what exactly is the intent of your question and drive you to the right part of the enterprise that gives you that answer. And this is what we do for enterprises, for telcos. We want to authenticate ourselves. Typically, when you want to do a transaction, they ask you for your mother's, grandmother's middle name, and when did you do your last transaction, and how much did you transact. I never have the answers to these, so I'm a real risk. And on top of that, I'm over 40, which means that I don't remember the 30 passwords that I have, and I keep having to change it every 3 months. I'm terrible at passwords, and most people don't remember their passwords, and password management is becoming a whole industry in itself. So what do we want to do? You want to make that part of your life really simple. So when you call up and say, I want to transfer money from my account to Khalifa's account, it'll say, okay, Mr. Kumar, can you please tell me who you are really? I know your account number. And then you say, at the salat, my voice is my password, and you're in. You don't have to have a complex algorithm to remember passwords. And that remains your password for life. Your voice print has about 125 characteristics, and we've never been broken once. We own about 85% of the market share on the voice biometrics business, and we've never been cracked once. It's not socially engineerable because there's nothing to remember. It's nothing that you carry. It's your voice. You have it on you all the time.
Before we get started, please say, at Sphere, my voice is my password.
At Sphere, my voice is my password.
Thanks, Miss Jones. Your identity has been confirmed. In a few words, tell me what you are calling about.
So that's all it takes. You just have to remember that one phrase. There's a bank in Abu Dhabi that's implementing the solution right now. Actually, there are 2 banks that are looking at implementing it. We have a telco in the region that's implementing it. But the fact of the matter is, I always find banks which are actually more susceptible to fraud picking this up, because actually just on fraud, the ROI is about 2 months. In one bank's case, it was 2 weeks. So when we're talking of a cost-led decision making, I think there's a huge uptake when it comes to a business-led decision as well. So again, you want to ask a question and you want to get an answer. What do we have today? We ask a question of how do I switch on international calls. If I want to go onto your website and ask that question, I'm probably going to see about 17 screens before I get an answer to that. Is that about right? On your website? Or if you're going through your mobile phone, you have to switch or swipe through multiple screens to come to your answer. So what we're trying to say is, instead of showing results 1 of 2,240, you want an answer that's really quick.
Why is my bill so high?
The main reason your latest bill is above your plan is due to additional data charges of £16.
When is my next payment due?
Your payment will be due on the 4th of April 2013.
How much did I spend on calls in my latest bill?
Your calls outside of your monthly plan was £5.
Show me more detail.
Here are the call details of your latest bill.
Show me my data usage.
Here are the data details of your latest bill.
How can I save money on my bill?
Considering your international call usage, you may want to look at these packages to help save you money.
Can I compare this month's bill with the previous month?
Here is a comparison of your latest bill to previous bills showing the differences.
I can go on, and that's actually going live. We have quite a few examples, but if you were to look at where we're going with an advisory capacity that a mobile phone app can give you, it's going to get scary. One of our customers, that's a bank, is actually implementing something like this. He's actually mining his customer data from his behaviors. So, and of course, all of the data of the bank, including your salary and your consumption and your utilization and how you use your card, when, where, how, to buy what kind of products is all there in your customer profile. But then if you were to ask a question of your bank, hey, listen, I'm standing in the BMW showroom in downtown Manhattan. I love this car and I want to buy it. What do you think, Mr. Financial Advisor? And that's a question to a mobile app. So the financial advisor actually says, or comes back to you with an answer saying, if you could stop binging on weekends and stop smoking, you can probably afford that car, right? So what are we getting at here? I'm actually mining the entire data that I have of you. I know that you eat too much on weekends. I know you smoke a lot. Maybe I'll give you a few lifestyle tips while I'm at it. And so I'm telling him, this is what you could potentially do if you want to buy that car. That's an incentive enough to maybe quit smoking. I don't know what you want to do with your customer. Maybe he'll hate you for giving some advice like that, but that's what they want to go to. If I'm stuck in the middle of the desert and I want to know if I'm going to get coverage here, maybe I'm in a bit of a spot. So maybe I'll pull out my data package and do something there. But the next point that we'd like to help you do is actually transact. I just want to top up 50 dirhams on my mobile broadband using my Visa debit card. I should get 2 screens. Instead of that, I get, again, another 17 screens on my mobile app. So again, same story. All you want is looking for ease, convenience, simplicity, and just by the simple command of your voice. It understands what you're asking. No need to remember any particular ways of talking. You can just talk to it like you would talk to a buddy or your family. So a very simple example of what you could do, again, similar to what I just showed you earlier.
I'd like to set up autopay for the 15th of every month using my stored credit card.
Shall I submit this now?
Change it to the 20th.
Okay to submit this now? All right, it's submitted.
You don't always have to use your voice, but here's the point. You can actually set up a lot of your interactions while you're setting up your customer. I'll show you an example of what Sprint did, but what is all this stuff all about? I'm talking to you about something futuristic. Fact of the matter is, it all sounds futuristic, but it's there in our customers and telcos around the world. So, where were we before? We were in the speech technology area where we understood what you spoke. Now we're coming into a slightly more scary understanding of what you say. We understand what you're trying to ask us. The context and the meaning of the intent of why you're calling us is what we're trying to capture. And the whole multi-channel experience is all about treating you as a human being and answering intelligent questions to sometimes fairly simple questions. You get answers.
To buy new wireless products and services, or to add a new line of service to your existing account, press 1. If you are an existing customer and would like to speak with customer care, press 2.
You're all familiar with this.
For all
this is the
questions
way we do it
regarding
currently.
moving your number, press 3.
How can I help you today? You can say anything from, how many minutes do I have, to make a payment. So briefly tell me the reason for your call.
There's a charge on my bill I don't understand.
Okay, billing. I'll get you right over to a representative who can help.
Right now we're stuck between 0 and 9. We take about 6 to 19 minutes to get an answer on a simple question sometimes from our telcos. It's not just telcos. Everybody's part of the crime, banks. We hate that hold button on an IVR. And that can go for a long, long time. It's not the most pleasing customer experience. The customer saying, hey, give me a choice. Give me some other way to deal with you guys. I don't have to walk into your branch. I honestly walk to my branch. It's easier to get information from where I live to my branch than actually getting it on the contact center. So what can we do with this? This is a cross-industry example of where your life could be. That's web chat. You can type just the way you like. I'm doing a ticket booking now, or the lady's doing it. She's sitting up late, doing her booking. It's booked on her website.
Please say your passphrase.
At Star Global, my voice is my password.
It's your mobile password.
Hi, Andrea. I can check you in now, okay? Shall I put you on the upgrade list?
Yes.
Your boarding pass pass is now available through your reservations page. Say a command.
Call Sphere Bank.
This is Nina from Sphere Bank. I see you're calling from a phone in your profile. Please say your security phrase.
At Sphere Bank, my voice is my password.
Thank you. Please tell me how I can help you.
Yes, I wanted to let you know I'm traveling to Europe today.
Okay, travel notification.
Hello?
This is Nina at Star Global Airlines. I wanted to...
That's a cross-channel experience that you see from a website.
How can I help you?
This is a web experience that we have at Sprint. This
Check
is on the
out our
website.
smartphones here. Here's the comparison. Here's some information on that feature. Sure, I've added it to your cart. Please choose a rate plan before you check out, and let me know if you have any questions. Yes, the My All-In plan includes 5 gigabytes of hotspot service a month, but you can get it as a separate feature on the Unlimited My Way plan. Sure, I've signed you up for the My All-In plan. Here are some additional services you may want to consider.
For those trying to implement a web chat on their website using live agents, it's really expensive. This is all
Certainly,
automated. There's a
Sprint
backend
Guardian
agent that's
allows
pretty
you
much
to
answering all
locate
of
your
your
phone
questions.
and lock it in case it gets lost or stolen. Here's some information. Let me know if you'd like to sign up.
So that was an upsell. So what we're really doing is we have a virtual agent at the back. It's not a live agent. That takes about 70% of your most asked questions. We stick it into a knowledge base, which is learning what people are asking and what kind of answers we can drive to them, and drives the answers to them based on questions that are pretty much normal, human-like format. It's not a driven exercise. So here's what we're doing with a whole bunch of our customers who are looking at the mobile app. We call it Nina, which is a Nuance interactive natural assistant, which is nothing but Siri built for you as an enterprise.
Finally, to make paying your bill quick and easy, I can store the credit card you used to pay for me. Would you like to do that?
Definitely.
We know that some of you are struggling
Sure.
with collections.
What's the security code on that card?
5527.
Thanks. I've stored it. If you have a Google account, you can also use this card for any purchases you make. Should I set that up for you?
Yeah.
Okay, take a second to sign in to Google. Great. Your stored card is ready for purchases in the Google Play App Store. By the way, you can also set up automatic payments to make sure you never lose service. Should I set that up too?
No thanks.
So as I have been talking to telcos for the last 3 years, I think we've got a couple of people who like the idea. And the fact of the matter is, I think in the next couple of years, with the kind of penetration we're seeing, we won't have any feature phones anymore, which makes possibly every phone in every pocket, with about 120% penetration that we talked about this morning. For smartphones in your pocket, I think every one of them is amenable to a mobile app. we struggle with mobile apps by actually sticking all of the content that we have on our website into that little piece of real estate. Bad idea. If you can navigate with your thick fingers on that, good luck. But if you can use your voice for either your watch or your mobile, I think you will find that a lot more friendly to use. So what channels do we operate across? Be it your contact center, which has about 70% of your interactions. Talk about 15 to 20% on your website, which can be brought alive. You don't have to use that for information alone. Osman talked about this morning about how much of information we used to drive in the 2000s. But now you can actually transact. And you can just use your biometric password to run fairly potent and high-value transactions. So happy to talk to anyone. If there are any questions, happy to take them. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anil, thank you. It's an interesting presentation, really. But can I ask a question? Maybe it's different than the content.
All right.
Why all your operators are female? The voice of all operators during this presentation,
I'll
all
tell you,
female.
Apple experimented with this. If you look at, there are lots of jokes on YouTube and the internet about people flirting with Siri, who's a female.
Okay.
Right?
And the Nuance technology, it's all female also?
Not really. Siri in the UK is the guy who talks on the tube.
Okay.
It's not a
Thank
great
you.
success. They're trying to switch back to a female voice. Females appeal more, that's for sure. Just to add, you can have the voice biometric on any one of your channels, and you can obviously run it across from one channel to another. So if there are no more questions, any more questions, I'm happy to answer them, or if we can take them offline. Are we good? Thank you.